I met my son when he was 2 years old. I was appointed to be his one-on-one aide at the preschool where I worked. I instantly fell in love with this fierce, determined little boy and vowed I would focus all my energy into making his life a little bit easier. Little did I know then that 13 years later, he would move into my home and become part of my family. When Dave was born, they said he would most likely never learn to walk or talk. He would forever be dependent on others for his basic needs. We proved all the naysayers wrong, and David grew into a personable young man who could talk your ear off and was known for his speed in his Special Olympics track races. He became the light of my life and the example of hard work and determination. In the summer of 2021, David started to change. He became aggressive and distant, and he engaged in strange behaviors like eating markers and tissues and reaching for dust. He had pain in his hands as well as his face and eyes. He developed on and off fevers. He was hospitalized for psychiatric care and brought to the emergency room on multiple occasions. Doctors gave him hypothetical diagnoses like schizophrenia and bipolar, but they always just sent him home without any real answers. I always thought that if he had been a typical young man of 25, he would have been treated very differently. I was on a fast track to losing it myself because of the stress. Receiving no help from anyone else, I decided to dive in and find the cause of his deterioration on my own. Why such an abrupt change? One day, during a hospital lab visit, I overheard another patient talk about how his platelets had dropped to nearly nothing since his COVID vaccinations. This really struck me. I realized that all the changes started after David's first 2 vaccinations. In fact, he ended up in the hospital within a month of his booster. Everything that I read and came up with after that pointed to an autoimmune encephalitis response to the vaccinations. I begged his PCP and the emergency room doctors to perform the tests needed to confirm that his condition was linked to an inflammatory response, which was being caused by autoimmune encephalitis. Each and every time, the medical professionals claimed the tests were unnecessary and would deny my requests. They continued to tell me that sometimes these mental changes happen, especially with special needs individuals. Even when he was brought in by ambulance because he suddenly couldn't walk, they would not perform any testing. 2 hours after sitting around, he was able to walk down the corridor for a juice, so they released him. No explanation given. We were both at the bottom and lost. David was repeatedly hospitalized and highly medicated, unable to come home because of his behaviors. His aggression was increasing, but the medical community didn't want him either. They kept trying to release him. He had to be placed in an apartment with 24/7 staff support. It seemed no one was willing to help or listen. In a desperate attempt to find someone, I decided to reach out to a naturopath. After our first physical visit with him, he was able to witness how severe of a situation we were in. David had refused to leave his office after his appointment and pulled the couch away from the wall, looking for dust to eat. It took me 40 minutes to remove him while he screamed, "I am not leaving. I am staying here. I am sick." After seeing the severity of our situation, the naturopath referred us to the Ping Clinic at the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. After getting connected with Dartmouth, we met with a wonderful psychiatrist there who was also a pediatrician. She listened to our story and immediately contacted David's PCP. She requested further blood tests and pushed for a referral to a specialized neurologist. Unfortunately, it took a few months before we were actually able to see that neurologist. But after one meeting with David, he was diagnosed with autoimmune encephalitis post-vaccination. We had found someone, finally, to listen to us. We continue on our journey, and things are getting better, but my boy is still not quite the same. The neurologist said that because of the delayed treatment, that things may never be back to the way they were. I don't want to take that as an acceptance. We will keep fighting like we always have. My boy was born with the cards stacked against him, but through the years we have learned to take those cards, match them up, and raise them even higher. This story won't be any different.